everyone, welcome to Netflix Roulette. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
Today we're going to review the final countdown from the movie from 1980. It's a time travel film. Eric, tell us what this movie is about.
Okay, so Martin Sheen and Kirk Douglas. Martin Sheen is not part of the Navy. What is he?
He's like a scientific observer who's supposed to just be there to tell people what they ought to like changes they should make. He's like the thinking outside of the box guy who's supposed to help make special changes.
Okay, he didn't do that at all. Okay, so
no, he didn't fill that role in any capacity whatsoever.
He's on the ship for nebulous reasons. So we have about 10 minutes of watching planes fly around. And then land on the aircraft carrier, and Martin Sheen gets on the aircraft carrier, and then a wormhole opens up, and the aircraft carrier goes through the wormhole and goes back in time to, is it the day of or the day before the attack?
I get the sense that it's just before, because they say they're there for I want to say they say 18 hours or something.
Yeah, okay, I couldn't remember if they were there, they got there the day before. Okay, so they're right before the attack on Pearl Harbor, where the Japanese airplanes are going to come in on to bomb Pearl Harbor. And there's a senator there who, I actually wish I'd looked it up to see if he was real. There's a senator there who apparently had been saying for a year that the Japanese were going to attack, and he was the number one pick to be the vice president. And he disappeared under mysterious circumstances on the day that Pearl Harbor was attacked. And then, the senator and his secretary, which they go out of their way to inform us he is not sleeping with, they end up on the aircraft carrier, and, everybody realizes that they're there that day, because there's about 20 minutes before they realize that. And then, in between scenes, or maybe even in between frames, one of the crew members falls in love with this, with the secretary of the senator, and then I'm not sure what happens. They leave the senator and his secretary on a deserted island, right? That's what happens, right?
Yeah, because the historian guy who seems to conveniently know everything that ever happened in the United States.
He read the file he had in his hand.
Yeah, but remember when he meets the senator, he's like, "Oh, you're Senator that guy."
Well, he just read the file. It was fresh in his mind.
Well, that's convenient, too.
They just happen to have that file on the...
Yeah, I was fuzzy on what the point of all that was, too. I think which is annoying because that's, I think, the interesting part.
Okay, hold on, alright, let me finish this. I just wanted to make sure I understood, because also, the crew member that fell in love with the girl is on the island, too.
Yes.
This is where it gets really confusing, because at first I was like, did they just kill that guy? Did they just leave him on this deserted island? Because they established that time is cyclical. If you go back in time, everything you've done has already happened, type of thing. So this guy's never seen or heard from again. Then, out of nowhere, the wormhole opens up again. They go through the wormhole. They come back to normal time. Martin Sheen gets off the boat after another 10 minutes of watching airplanes fly. And a car pulls up, and it's like, Mr. and Mrs. Stein would like to speak with you. And it's the secretary and the guy that fell in love with her, but they're old now, and they say, we have a lot to talk about, and then they drive away in credits. And my immediate question was, in the past 40 years, did you figure out how time travel worked? Because otherwise, you do not have a lot to talk about. It's literally just history. Martin Sheen knows what happened in history. What do you really have to say that he doesn't already know?
That's what I wondered, too. I mean, the idea I got was that they've been manipulating events behind the scenes, but then those events happen that way the first time.
I didn't get that at all. And when I saw them, I was like, okay, so what happened to the senator who was never seen again?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, he must have... I would assume he just died because he was older.
I guess. Did he die on the island? Because he was never seen again. Why wouldn't he just get off the island and then go back? Because they never explained to him what's going on.
No, he's in the dark the whole film.
Why? And really, why... even if they explain to him on that island before they get rescued, even if they explain to him what's going on, why would he believe them? Why wouldn't he just go right back to being vice president?
I haven't, or setting himself up to where he's about to be vice president. Yeah. No, that's a good question. I have no answer for you. Just getting into actually reviewing the film, my biggest complaint about the movie, is that there's just not enough done with the conceit. The movie is a lot more interested in showing you this aircraft carrier than it is actually telling a story. And it takes, you said it's 10 minutes of airplanes flying, but I swear it's 25 or 30 minutes before the wormhole even opens.
There's a lot of time.
There's a lot of time, and it's not that there's nothing worth looking at there. I mean, the photography's nice, it looks good, and I don't want to not have historical perspective on this, but I mean, I can point to other films made around 1980 that move at a better pace than this.
This isn't a time pacing thing. This is a bad film pacing thing. This has nothing to do with the time period that this film came out in. Because what I felt like was I watched an hour and a half long movie. Actually, it's an hour and 40-minute long movie, and there's literally, I think, 10 minutes of plot. And it's only scenes where Martin Sheen is present.
Yep.
Do you notice that? Any scene where he's not present, you literally don't have to watch.
Yeah, nothing's happening. When they finally go back in time, and then, of course, there's a lot of time where they don't even realize they're back in time, which was kind of interesting, where they were discussing, if you can put yourself, because this is somewhat of a time thing, if you can put yourself in a time where we hadn't had quite as many time travel films, where just the very conceit of we went back to Pearl Harbor might be a little bit more to carry an audience. You've got, and also you wouldn't necessarily expect them to immediately buy, hey, we went back in time, like you might in a time travel movie set now. You get all this talk about, well, who is messing with us and trying to make us think that we're back in
well, there's a Cold War thing where it's like, well, the Russians did this, and I thought that was kind of funny. I love the idea that the Russians went out of their way to create artificial broadcasts that would make a naval carrier think that they went back in time.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. And it was kind of fun too because it was like set on a frequency they shouldn't have been able to broadcast at.
Yeah, like I wanted that movie. I wanted the movie where the Russians decided to orchestrate a really, really weird thing to make the Americans think that they'd gone back in time.
Of course, the two big things I wanted to see a lot more of were just basic, character development to make me care about any of these people, because they're all totally wooden and kind of non-entities. But also, I wanted to see a lot more discussion of the moral conundrum of should we change time or shouldn't we? The idea that, because they discussed it a little bit, and then the captain ultimately decides we can't worry about, he doesn't have a temporal prime directive like they would in the Star Trek, right? This is uncharted territory. He doesn't know what to do. So he says the only thing he thinks he can, even after a little bit of moralizing, which is, well, we have to protect America's past, present, and future because that's what we're supposed to do as the military. So regardless of the outcome, I'm not going to think in an ends justifies the means kind of mindset. I'm simply going to take orders from the current commander-in-chief.
Okay, here's the thing that nobody brought up in this film that I really wanted someone to bring up. Probably Martin Sheen, because he seems to be the only person thinking in the entire film. I really want somebody to say, like, well, you do understand if the Japanese don't bomb Pearl Harbor, we might not enter the war, and the Nazis might win that war.
Hey, Eric, I love that you said that. I was thinking exactly the same thing. I was like, but this is the thing that makes America enter the war.
Yeah, you know what I want? I want this movie to be remade. I think it's such an interesting premise, and I've seen a lot of things that do a similar premise. There's
an X-Files episode about this.
I just watched City on the Edge of Forever, like about a week ago, where it's a similar thing where it's like, well, you have to let these people die for, time, whatever. this specific idea of going back to Pearl Harbor is so interesting to me. I really want somebody to remake this movie because I think there's a really great movie in this concept.
I think there is too. I totally agree with you. I mean, the first thing you'd want to change is not conveniently suddenly have the wormhole show back up just when they're about to alter history.
Yeah, they needed to make their decision before that happened.
Because that really takes any kind of suspense out of this movie. I mean entirely. Because you know, like you said, it tries to establish this idea that time is unchangeable. Although that's just mentioned by one character where he has a theory.
No, I got the impression because they say so and so disappears and then he's on the ship and that's why he disappeared. Was that they were the cause for him disappearing?
I missed that. I forgot about that. Yeah, good point. Okay, so yeah, somebody theorizes that, and then I guess he turns out to be right. But I think it's a cheat that the only real reason they couldn't actually affect time was because suddenly the wormhole shows back up again.
Yeah, and that's something you don't see anymore. Is just a weird plot device like that. Like, you go back and watch old movies, and they have that all over the place.
That's true.
Something weird happens just to set up the film. There's no explanation for it. It's not something we get anymore, but
well, it's exactly like Connecticut Yankee, right?
Or Picture Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no explanation for it, it just happens.
And that's not a problem for me.
No. It's that they brought it back as a plot device.
Yeah, I don't like when it appears again. And you know, we've seen this in a lot of science fiction where you'll have the thing that warps you to some other world or whatever, and then, you know, it disappears, but it's going to come back again. Like, it shows up in intervals like that. Like you could eventually time it where, okay, every so many hours it shows back up again, and you've got so much time to plan for it. They could have done something like that here where they figured out how long it would take for it to open up again. We've got this much time to enact any change we want to attempt to enact in the past, if that's even possible. That sort of thing. But here it was just, hey, we're going to go off to war. We're going to stop the Japanese from, you know, destroying Pearl Harbor. And then, oh wait, here's the thing. Here's our ticket home. Yeah.
And did I miss the relationship between the crew member and the woman? Because there was like one scene where he's like, "You're a fascinating woman," and then it was, "I'm staying on the island with her."
Yep, I missed that too. I felt like there was something big that was cut out.
I felt like this was a 20-page script. And if anybody doesn't know, usually when you write a script, every page should be about a minute. So if you're writing a 140-minute film, you should have 140 pages. This felt like a 20-page script.
Yeah, because I guarantee you they weren't mapping out all the shots of the airplanes flying.
Now, we're dogging on this a bunch, but here's what I want to say is...
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't mean to just speak negatively. Like you said, the premise is interesting and is somewhat explored.
I honestly would love to see this remade. I think it's such an interesting idea. I would love to see someone remake it and deal with the idea and the moral conundrum. I think it's a great moral conundrum. But I've never seen anything with Martin Sheen as a young guy. And it was really off-putting because he's kind of he's got Charlie Sheen's hair and like head structure, but he has Emilio Estevez, who's also his son. He has his face. So it like the entire movie, it's like watching Emilio Estevez with Charlie Sheen's hair. And what's really funny is he doesn't sound or act like either of them, but, I really liked him. Literally, if Top Gun had been made 10 years earlier, he could have been the star of it. He just had this great energy about him. If anybody knows any good, young Martin Sheen films, post them in the comments. Cause I would really like to see more young Martin Sheen. I really liked his energy in this film. I've only seen him as an old guy.
I agree with you. I think he was great, and I've seen him in a little bit younger roles, but I don't think I've ever seen him this far back. No, I thought he brought a lot of energy to the picture too, and I don't think you can count out Kirk Douglas. I thought he did a wonderful job.
No, and actually, if they remade this, I thought Martin Sheen could be the Kirk Douglas character.
That would be really cool if he came back and played the other role. I thought Kirk Douglas had a really commanding presence. I bought him as a captain of this aircraft carrier.
Yeah, no, I liked him, and I liked that he was just kind of like a man of convictions. Like, even though I was totally not agreeing with how he thought about the situation, he kind of sold that he really thought this way. Like,
yeah,
look,
it's kind of interesting.
American soil's getting attacked, and I'm gonna protect it.
I felt a little bit like it was somebody unprepared by fiction, if that makes any sense at all. Where, like, somebody else that had noodled time travel theory and things like that might have thought differently, but obviously this idea was never in his headspace.
Right.
And so he had very tunnel vision where it was like, I'm going to do my duty as a soldier because I don't know what else to do. But what was cool was that he didn't lose his cool or anything. It was kind of fun to see this guy who completely had a command of his faculties, even through this bizarre thing he couldn't begin to comprehend.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking on the Wikipedia page. You want to hear something that's going to blow your mind?
Yeah.
This film had 4 writers. It doesn't feel like a convoluted mess. It feels like somebody wrote 20 pages. This film doesn't need 4 writers.
No, it doesn't feel convoluted. It feels like it could have been a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. With a lot of, like, stuff thrown in. This actually would have been a fantastic Twilight Zone episode.
I'd also like to mention that the Senator was played by Charles Dunning, who played, the only other thing I remember seeing him in, he played the bad guy in the Muppet movie. He was Doc Hopper in the Muppet movie, and I always liked him in that. We were looking, Eric and I were looking at his career before the show, and he's a big character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, and just died last year.
And I want to mention the wormhole special effects.
Yes.
Okay, so anytime it's like a head-on shot, it's fine. But there's a shot at the end where they're coming out of the wormhole, and they cut to the side of the ship, and you can totally tell it's just like an overlay on the film screen. Like, it looks okay when it's head-on, but when it cuts to the side of the ship, it just looks like the ship's going through the middle of the wormhole.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Something else I wanted to mention, because it was a really effective scene that didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Actually probably the most effective scene in the entire film. When they go back, and it cuts back and forth between them on the ship and the World War II footage, which I really liked. My problem with it was they were all doing the Star Trek "we're falling away from our panels" thing. That didn't happen the first time. Like, they just, like, went back, and they're like, where are we?
Yeah, that's right. Good point.
I was, maybe if they'd gone into it more, I was wondering, I'm like, is the universe angry at them for trying to tamper with time? Like, is that why it's like, hurting them this time? But as a standalone scene, I thought that was really well done.
I also wanted to mention, I thought the Japanese guy who takes the Senator hostage...
he was really good.
Good.
Yeah, no, he was really good. I don't know if he's been anything else, but he was really good.
Yeah, that performance was really cool. So Eric, are you glad we watched this?
No. I wouldn't watch it again.
No, I wouldn't watch it again either.
You know what? I'm kind of glad I watched this because I did really like the premise. I really liked Martin Sheen. And I really hope that they remake it. If nothing else, yeah, I really like the skeleton of this film.
Yeah, me too. Isn't it really funny that the first movie we did for this show was this, like, really dense thing that had all these things that we were trying to put together and figure out, and it was really confusing. And then this is one of the most straightforward and padded movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well, Eric, what are we watching next time?
Next time we are watching Troll Hunter, which
Why did you pick this film?
Well, Troll Hunter is a film I've heard about for a couple of years. It's a foreign film. that is apparently amazing. I'm looking up right now. It is it's a Norwegian film. So it's a subtitle film. Apparently, Troll Hunter is a film about a crew that goes to investigate Norwegian troll hunters, because troll mythology originates in Norway. And I guess it's incredibly mythologically accurate to troll mythology as originated in Norway. And it's about people who go to interview people that hunt trolls. And I've heard a lot of really good things about it, so I'm really interested to see it. What?
When was it made?
2011.
Oh, cool.
Oh, no, 2010. Sorry, 2010. Actually, one thing I want to say before we go.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at the comments for the last video. We're not just doing movies. We're doing movies that neither of us have seen. I saw a lot of things where it's like, you should talk about, and it's a movie both of us, like, really like. Like, probably openly on our channels. Like, it was a lot of, like, really popular movies. I was like, we're not just gonna do a review for that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But I saw a bunch of them where it was just like I want to say like Hellboy was on there. Like, well, we've both seen Hellboy.
Yeah, the whole idea for this show is that we're going to things that are on Netflix and just trying to dig deeper and look for things that neither of us have ever watched before. And it being Netflix, we're probably going to watch a lot of really odd things that nobody's ever heard of. But that's part of the point. We're trying to stretch our minds a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, thanks again for listening to Netflix Roulette. We're going to do this again next week. And again, we'll be doing this all through the summer until we get back to Arrow discussions. Eric, so far, I'm enjoying this. I'm feeling more and more enlightened as we do this show, finding out about more things I didn't know about.
yeah, definitely.
Well, we'll see you again next week. I'm Captain Logan.
I told my friends I was watching a movie called Final Countdown, and they immediately jumped to that. Actually, just real quick before I say my name, I just want to. I looked it up. That album actually came out 6 years after, so they didn't do it intentionally.
Oh no, I knew that.
But I'm Eric.